right, I'm here with my friend Pier Pagano.
Hello, how are you?
Thanks for coming on the show. You used to have a women's only
Yes,
fitness gym
I did.
in Manhattan,
I did. Yes.
and you're a repatterner.
Yeah.
How do you say that?
Repatterning
Repatterning. You do repatterning.
of your blueprint, the one you were born with and the one you've developed, due to every experience you've ever had since the moment you drew breath.
Mm. You know, we talked a little bit a couple of days ago, and I was like, wow, I'd love to just kind of chat about that a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and so could you explain it to me?
Right. Well, do you want me to just explain to you from the very beginning when I first started, or just the repatterning part?
I think the whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah. How did you get involved in it?
All right. Well, I did have a gym a long time ago because there really weren't any gyms that women could go to and work out without getting hit on. This was in the 80s, and it was a big scene. Like, you would go to the gym to, meet people. But there were people that really wanted to work out, and I was one of them. And I complained about it so much to my business manager. I was a clothing
Talking
designer.
to that microphone. Yeah.
I was a clothing designer. And I complained about it so much that he told me to open my own gym, pick who I wanted, and then just close the membership, a women's gym. And then that way I would be able to do whatever I wanted and not be tortured.
This was in the 80s?
In the 80s, yeah.
Wow.
80s. And he told me also that he had an empty building that it wasn't really empty, but there was a floor that was empty. And I could have that floor and just do whatever I wanted, which was very enticing, you can imagine. But then he told me that on the floor underneath me was Al Goldstein from Screw magazine. So it was going to be a bit of a ride. I'm having a women's gym, and then have you ever heard of Screw magazine?
Is it like a porn?
Yeah,
porn
he was like, Al Goldstein was the king of porn.
Okay.
It was before porn was like something everyone said. It was just Al Goldstein.
In the city, huh? In Manhattan.
In the city, yeah. And his door was locked because he had so many death threats. But I remember meeting him on the elevator. I mean, he was, you could tell who he was. He was a short, heavy-set guy with a lot of, beard and hair. And but he was really nice. And he said to me, listen, your girls, my limousine, it sits outside all day doing nothing. If you ever want to go anywhere, you can use it. And I was, thank you. But we never used it. But I did open up this gym, and it was for women.
Nothing's for free, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's no free lunch anywhere. Yeah, he was a nice guy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a few stories about him, but they have nothing to do with this. But in each case, he was very nice to me. I don't want to say anything about him other than he was very nice to me. And, never bothered us. But it was a women's gym. I had all men working there.
Were there any other women's only gyms at the time?
Lucille Roberts.
Okay.
That was it. But it was different. I had professional dancers teach all the classes, and they were all men from like Martha Graham and any of the big companies. And I closed the membership when I had enough money to run it and just break even because all I wanted to do was work out in peace. But then, I mean, I'm sure you know this, when you own a gym, it's like you don't get to ever have any peace because the toilet's broken or there's some kind of issue with something or other.
Boss being the boss life, huh?
Yeah, and then I had an assistant who was this beautiful male dancer named Charles, and I told him, when people come and knocking and they want to interview, you tell them you're the owner. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to work out. And so I had that gym, and then I sold it and moved on. But what it taught me was how to work with people, and that everyone has a story. So that's what started me thinking about it. And I went into styling because I was a clothing designer at first. And I started styling, and I realized that working with people in their closets, they start to talk to you about everything. It's like being a bartender. And they tell you everything about themselves without even you asking. And I did that for a lot of years, and it became, like I was over it. I wanted to just change my life and do something else. And I started thinking about holistic health and that it would be better to change people on the inside to feel good about themselves on the outside rather than from the outside in. And that's when I started to develop this program of repatterning and shifting the blueprint that you're born with.
Interesting. So is there something that specifically happened that made you want to make that shift towards some it's the same work in a way, right? But
It is the same work in a way. But I was bored, and it got to be, I could do it in my sleep. Like, I started to look at people, and immediately in my mind, I could dress them, and I knew how to make them feel better about themselves, but they actually weren't feeling better about themselves. They were just looking good. So it convinced them, okay, I can go out and do this, but they weren't actually dealing with what was making them not feel good. So then I'm a writer. I have a degree in creative writing, and I had written down my thoughts always about that. And I started to think I could develop this into a program, and I was already doing it. So it was just a matter of shifting the way that I looked at things.
Did you use your notes for I guess for content or
I
curriculum?
I wrote blogs to help myself.
Okay.
And then my friends would have issues, and I would use those blogs on them. I would use the techniques I had done to myself for them, and they said it helped them. So then I thought, okay, well, this will work. So I wrote a lot. And then I was invited by two of my friends, one who is an acupuncturist and one who does progressive astrology, to work with a group of people and to do a seminar. And I started to do local seminars with them around New York. And then we started to do seminars in Europe, and we just did one in Italy.
Nice.
That was very successful and a lot of fun. And
Nice.
I feel like you learn more when you do it.
So explain, what is repatterning?
Well, we're all born with the blueprint.
Okay.
And then there's your parents. That's your blueprint. They teach you everything about yourself that you need to know as a child. And then every experience that you have during that time and after that time is part of the blueprint. And it teaches you lessons, both good and bad. And you repeat them unless there's a reason not to. And sometimes you don't even realize you're repeating them. And often, I had a child at this point, and I realized that the things that annoyed me about him, the things that I had so much trouble with about him, were the things that were troubling me about myself. So I needed to work on that and think, look, where did that come from? And it involves a lot of introspection, really, because you have to look at everything and you have to be honest with yourself, because there's a lot of us that we don't want to deal with. And we put that in the basement because that seems to be something that, oh, it's too horrible. Like, if somebody knows that about me, they're not going to like me. But you need every part of yourself. So we go through everything and why we feel the way we do. I have a list of 75 words that I read to my private clients. And I tell them, I'm reading these words slowly to you. Write down the ones that trigger you, good and bad. And usually one of the words that they write down is idiot. And that seems to be the word that everyone's been called by someone at some point in their life. And it's a huge trigger word.
Sure. I mean, I have little kids now, and middle school. One of them is in middle school, and I'm sure those things, they stay with you, right, for
Forever.
If you let it, and it seems like a lot of people do.
Well, because you don't know, you believe it. That's your blueprint.
Yeah.
And you have to actively decide to change it. I remember my father telling me that he was disappointed in me one time, and it stayed with me for a really long time. I think I was 11, because I didn't put clothes away. And now I have, a child who was 11, and at 11, he didn't put clothes away. It's not really a big deal. But that word, I just never wanted to disappoint anyone. I still don't want to disappoint anyone. And I think that's probably why.
So how do you make that change? How do you get rid of that, self-image or whatever?
You look at yourself and you say, you know what? I don't want to disappoint anyone. But in order not to disappoint anyone, I have to not disappoint myself. So you make choices that allow you to live in a way that you're comfortable with. Because no one gets to tell you who you are. You get to tell you who you are. And if you've had your life with this blueprint where people have always said, oh, you're clumsy, you're stupid, you're this or you're that, or you're brilliant. It could be anything. And you buy that without looking at it and saying, sometimes I am clumsy, and sometimes, I make decisions that are stupid. It's temporary. So what? I learned from it. You look at these as blessings and kind of as life lessons, depending on, what you think. You look at it, instead of saying, I'm a disappointment, you say, that was a disappointing thing, a choice that I made, but now that allows me to make a different choice. So you examine everything.
And so you travel around with an acupuncturist and a movement person?
an acupuncturist, an astrologist, and a movement person.
Okay.
And this is what we do. We do day seminars, or we do, like a 5 or 6 day seminar, depending on what people want.
Are you familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Not really.
Okay. Have you seen you've seen judo and wrestling and
Yes.
those kinds of things? I mean, just one of the things that just I think about is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, people come in, they're maybe timid, they're shy, and it goes from little kids to adults, and then they start to get good and they start to win, and it really changes them. It really changes them forever, completely,
Okay.
the blueprint or, I mean, whatever things that they had put in their head, negative or whatever, the nonsense, and it changes them forever. So I'm always like, how does that happen? How does that work? And that's why I find it very interesting to see, because I mean, really in a way, it's similar, right? Psychology and all these different things, right?
Yes.
We had a black belt psychologist who's pretty successful guy, and he would we talked about how when you're an adult, people that do jiu-jitsu, they feel like they're young, and then he started to talk to me about how when you're a kid, everything's in the now, and as we get older, you're either in the future or in the present. You're never in the now. And so when you train jiu-jitsu, for example, somebody else is trying to choke you or get you in a submission hold, where you tap out.
Yes.
It kind of brings you to the present moment, and so it kind of brings you back in a way to your childhood. And I don't know if that's why those changes happen, right?
It could be. I mean, what happens as you get older and you have more experiences, your monkey mind. You have a monkey mind. So you're not able to be in the present unless you allow yourself to be. Because your mind is always telling you, you shouldn't have done that. Oh, why did you do that? Oh, you should do this. Or whatever you're thinking about, it's in your head all the time. And you have to quiet the voices and just say, hey, I'm going to give you 15 minutes later. You can talk to me. But right now, I need to be in this moment.
It's interesting. I think maybe because of the it's like a meditative state, right? That when you train, because you're not thinking about anything else. You're in the moment because somebody else is trying to choke you or get you in a submission hold.
Yeah.
So you're totally immersed in what you're doing. And so maybe that's what you're able to, you're able to get in that moment and make those changes. That's why that happens, huh?
It's very hard to do because you have to be very present.
And we're so busy with
the monkey mind telling you
nonsense. Yeah.
You're thinking about should I pick up my dry cleaning? Oh my gosh, I'm late. Whatever, or in some way disappointing someone. Instead of saying, I'm here right now, I need to focus. It's very hard to do that. And in order to do that, you have to know every part of yourself and be able to be okay with it. Because a lot of people are not. I think the physical aspect, which is what you do, has to be combined with the mental aspect, which is what I do. And there has to be a meeting there where you allow yourself to be there, to be here now, which is an old thing from the 60s. They used to have the Baba Ram Dass who would be here now. It's so true. It's really hard for
thousands
us.
of years old, right? The Buddhist monks that started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I don't know a lot
ancient
about
yoga,
that.
ancient practices.
But it's
There's
the
a reason
same
why
thing.
they did it.
Yeah. You just have to be present. And if you're present, it's very hard to do. There's so much stimulus, especially for kids. I thought when I first started doing this that I would have people like me who wanted to reinvent themselves, who had a career for 40 years and just decided to reinvent themselves. And I realized that it's a lot of younger people that are lost because of all of the things that are going on and the stress, and they're overwhelmed.
Social media, just different things to
Social media is so hard. It's
pull you
so
in different
hard
directions.
because when you're looking for likes, you're looking for validation, and you need to be looking to yourself for validation. Because if you know who you are, then no one can tell you who you are. So if someone says to you, you're an idiot, you can say, you know what, I'm not, and just move on, but it's hard to get there.
So I guess my question again is how do you make that change? How does that change occur in the person?
You have to look inside yourself and make decisions and choices about yourself.
So do you I guess could you explain the process?
Yeah. When I meet with someone, the first thing I say to them is, tell me about yourself. And they talk about themselves, and that's people's favorite subject. So they start to talk about themselves, and I'm listening. Listening is really important.
Yeah.
And so once you realize what they have to say, they start to form a solution themselves just by talking about it. I don't think people spend the time listening. And when you listen to someone talking about themselves, they're actually talking to themselves. And you find that it's a sort of synergy between the two of you. And then you can sort of shift the way they're looking at it and maybe offer them a new way. Because when you're inside yourself, like, you're not actually present with yourself because your monkey mind is telling you, oh my God, like, did you turn the stove off? You know, when you're talking about it and I'm listening to you, I'm devoting all my attention to you. You're devoting all your attention to you too. And usually between the two of us, we can find another way to look at things. And that's the shifting part of it. And then you can let go of the things. They're like stones in your pocket. I remember reading a story about that. You know, this guy was trying to walk up a hill and he couldn't. His pockets were heavy with these stones. And his friend said to him, why don't you just take the stones out of your pocket? It'd be a lot easier to walk up the hill. He said, I just never thought of it. And then he took the stones out, and every time he took one out, he was able to walk lighter and he reached the top of the hill. But I think it's a matter of paying attention to who you are. And that way you can decide.
You know, I find it interesting that you have, like acupuncturist person, so like kind of like a body worker in a way, and then you have a movement person, right, with you, because I've been studying like a lot of like brain things and just trying to make those changes. Like we both have a multiple sclerosis, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to optimize myself and feel good and be my best, right?
Yes.
And so I feel, it's just my subconscious, but all this, I'm really obsessed kind of with learning about these things, And I feel like the Trinity really for me has been one, like a movement practice, right? And of course I told you about the tack fit things.
Yes.
But then also sometimes you need some help, right? And so like a body work person, I've done like the advanced, like the fascial stretch therapy. I'm like I've done some of their things, and I've done some body work things as well. Just because I feel like I want to know, I want to understand. And then the last piece is kind of like the kind of the psychology in a way, things, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to be okay with you.
Yeah, and I think, but it's like if one doesn't work, another might work, right?
Right.
Is that why you have those people with you?
Well, actually, no. We kind of all work together, and it's very funny. A lot of times, people will come up to us at the seminars and say, "Do you guys talk to each other?" before you meet with us about us, and because they fill out a questionnaire, so we learn a little bit about them, but we don't. But we give them the same advice from different points of view and the same way of looking at things from different points of view. And that way, you yourself, if you're our client, can come up with your own strategy and your own blueprint. You don't need to hold on to a lot of things. There are things your parents taught you might not need anymore.
What does the movement person do with the people?
The movement person works on somatics and helping them get into their body and using their body as a tool to navigate the world, to be present. It's all about being present, really.
Yeah, that awareness.
Yeah, and you have to have all of it in order for it to work. Because if you're just doing one thing, you're neglecting the others. That's the thing that I was saying to you about knowing every part of you, even the parts that seem horrible that you've put in your basement. You need to take them out of the basement and give them love. Because you need them. Sometimes you have to be a horrible person. I mean, horrible with quotation marks.
I understand.
Because sometimes you need to stand up for yourself. And that's maybe not who you are today, or maybe, in this moment, you just need to do it and just say, hey, wait a minute, that's not right. And I don't accept that. But if you're listening to your old blueprint where maybe your parents said to you, ooh, don't do that. Don't speak back to an adult. But you're an adult now, so you get to make your own choices. And some of the choices they made for you, and teachers made for you, friends made for you, those might not be things you want to keep.
I was asking about the movement person, and so they teach awareness. So she does that through like movements and breathing, things like that.
Yes, movements and breathing.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and then speaking of the multiple sclerosis, right? That I guess we're both diagnosed with, right?
Yeah.
They prescribe you like drugs, or when I was prescribed, I was supposed to take drugs, right?
I have stopped taking drugs, but I was taking drugs since 2005.
And what's your opinion on all these things? We talked a little bit about it a couple days ago.
My opinion is that they use us as guinea pigs. I don't think they have a clue. Everyone's multiple sclerosis is different. I don't tell people I have multiple sclerosis because I don't need to, unless I need to. It's me. It's who I am. I'm not ashamed of saying it, but it doesn't have me. So I think that multiple sclerosis is very personal, and that I changed my life when I found out, finally, after being misdiagnosed with all sorts of things forever. I mean, I've had it since the 80s. I got diagnosed in 2005.
2005.
Yeah. And by the time they diagnosed me, I was in very bad shape.
What kind of symptoms did you have in the 80s?
I had numbness, and I fell. I've broken almost every bone in my body, and I was diagnosed as clumsy and depressed. I'm neither clumsy nor depressed. I have been clumsy, and I have been depressed, but it was momentary. You know, it doesn't define me.
Yeah.
So it really made me mad, and I said to my doctor, "You need to send me to a neurologist. Something is wrong with me, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not a hypochondriac." Because I had numbness, I had falling.
Your balance and everything was on.
My balance, to this day, my balance is so much better, but I work really hard at that. And sometimes it's bad. You know, my son is so worried about me all the time. He's like, "Mom, be careful." But he doesn't realize that my monkey mind is always telling me, there's a step there, you know, things like that.
Your survival instincts are strong.
Very strong. Oh, yeah, very strong.
Yeah, you told me about how people, poor... You have MS. Oh, sorry. Like poor you. You know, and you're like, no, I don't. That's why I don't tell people.
Yeah.
And I have that same. I'm the same. I didn't tell anybody really until I did that TACFIT team leader video.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
I think that was the first time I spoke about it publicly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really tell people unless I need to, and then I do. But I don't feel like it's anybody's business. It's my business, and I'm the one that has to do what I think is right.
What's your I guess description of multiple sclerosis, if you would tell somebody what it is.
What it is to me? I mean, I just think it's...
maybe to others, and then what it is for you, both.
Well, when you say you have multiple sclerosis, people automatically assume you're headed for the wheelchair.
Yeah.
So I just say I have MS. I don't even say the whole word. I just say I have MS if I have to. And my description of it is that sometimes I find it a little bit limiting, and I know what those limits are, so I stop. I know that when it's super hot outside, that I can't stay out for very long. I have a cooling vest, but it makes me feel like the Michelin Man. And I'm not sure it even works. I just take a bottle of like cold water and put it on my wrist. Yeah. And then I feel better.
Yeah, you figure it out.
Yeah, you just figure out what works for you, because what works for you is probably not going to work for someone else. I mean, people have all kinds of symptoms. I had symptoms that went away. I have symptoms that... I've been numb in my left hand since 2005 that I remember, maybe before that. That's when I noticed it. Because you keep expecting things just to be temporary, because they go away and then they come back and then they go.
How did you feel when they told you you have multiple sclerosis?
Relieved. I felt relieved. I was driving and my doctor called me and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm driving." And she said, "Pull over." So I pulled over, and then she said, "You have multiple sclerosis." And I said, "Oh, thank God." It was like a relief. I thought I had like a brain tumor or something, worse. Multiple sclerosis. I could deal with that. Now I know what I have, and so I looked it up and I read everything, and I realized I had to change my life big time because it was very different. And I changed it. And I immediately started feeling better. And I still have to change things.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah, I remember when I went to the doctors for the fight MRI, but I think I was just too stubborn to admit that I have numbness and different things happening to me, and I think even when he told me, I didn't accept it, and I think I never will.
Really?
Well, in a way, at least my mindset,
It doesn't
of course I have to admit, because we talked about it, my balance and. Just fatigue and just all kinds of things were happening. Yeah. And it's real, right?
No, it's real. But
even though I don't want to admit it, right?
No, but it's sort of freeing to admit it, because then you know what's going on and then you can make choices. See, this is part of the mindset where it doesn't have you. Otherwise it has you. And a lot of people are very depressed and they sink into it and then it just gets worse. Because they just eat. Well, I'm going to be in the wheelchair anyway. I'm going to die anyway. And then they just do things they make choices that I think are not the choices that I've made, but.
Yeah.
I go to the MS meetings to see what's new. And a lot of people are there and they're there to complain. so I spoke to my doctor and I said, I would love to have my team come in here and talk to these people because I feel like a more positive attitude could be helpful. And he said,
For sure.
they're not like you. That's what he said. They're not like you. And I don't think it will help them. They need drugs to feel better. Not everyone's a survivor. I thought, why not? Why not? Maybe they just need an education. But he was not interested in that.
Interesting. Yeah, the mindset. How do you change the mindset in people?
I don't know. I try to do it one at a time. I think when they see me, I'm sort of a positive example of it. Because when I found out I had a very young child and I wanted to, I thought, oh my gosh, and I was a single mom. So I thought, I've got to be healthy for him. So that was my motivation in that moment. Was I can't let him be raised by wolves. I have to be the mom he needs. So I sort of changed everything. And so far so good.
People, right? People, kids, like love makes you overcome whatever you need to overcome.
You're so right, because you have kids too, so you understand. I mean, I didn't grow up with a lot of love in my family, so I didn't even know how to do it. He taught me that, and I'm very grateful. He taught me that.
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I go back to jiu-jitsu because that's my life.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu and now tack fit, right? And just changing the mindset, and again, that's what I understand. So that's what I know. But you see it with people, they train, right? And then they maybe they lose, or somebody's always bigger and tougher and better.
Of course.
But you have to deal with that, and you have to have a positive mindset. You have to believe in yourself.
Right, but losing is not such a bad thing.
Right.
I think it's a good thing.
It's a part. Yeah, it's a part. It makes you better, but you have to keep your mindset, because if you have MS and you're falling over, you're fatigued. Like, how do you keep? That's like losing, right? And so, how do you keep that positive mindset with that?
Well, what I did was I changed the person I was working out with, because I think she was one of those people that were like, "Oh, you've got MS," and was real careful with me. Now I have this woman who is not careful with me, and when I say to her that actually it hurts, and she says, "Okay, 10 more on that side,"
Cool.
And I like that, because she doesn't care. She doesn't give me any sympathy. I don't want sympathy, but sometimes it's easier when you're tired to be like, "Okay, good, I don't have to do that." But she doesn't do that. She just gives me extra. So now I know that.
She brings out the best out of you.
She does. And because of her,
everything.
Yeah, I don't fall. I don't fall. I was falling all the time. I don't fall. I mean, it was at the point where I would fall all the time that I didn't even have any embarrassment about it. I just fell. And then I would get up.
Wow. And you would break bones, huh, when you would fall?
I really literally have broken almost every bone in my body at least once.
Wow.
Because I was misdiagnosed. I was told I had depression. I was told everything.
And did they prescribe medication for depression?
Of course they did, because that's what doctors do. Right. Did I feel it? No. Why would I do that? I'm not depressed. I know myself. I've known myself since I was a child because of the way that I was brought up. Pretty much, I left home very young. I was 15. And before that, it was not pleasant to live in my house at all. So I think when I was 13, I thought, I'm going to decide that I am who I am. I'm not going to let other people tell me who I am, because they don't even know me. They're just making decisions about who I am without getting to know me. So that's when it started. And I think it made me angry first, because I remember my father always saying to me, anger is your favorite emotion. And I was thinking, why doesn't he ask me why I'm angry? Because I'd love to tell him, but he never did. So and actually, when I was older, he was old, and I was taking care of him, which was not fun, because I had a young child, and my dad sort of moved in on me after years of not, And then he said I had to tell him I had MS, because he expected me to do everything, and there was a time when I couldn't. And when I told him, he said, "Have you taken care of Gabriel? Because he has his whole life ahead of him." That was his reaction. And I thought, okay, fine. This is how, instead of saying to me, "Oh, how can I help?" or in any way be part of my experience, he just moved on. And that was kind of because I knew who I was, I was just okay, that's who he is. And it was fine.
Tell me about your son, Gabe.
My son. He saved me. I think he saved me. I love Gabe. Well, he's in social media.
What does he do?
At the moment, he's doing YouTube.
What has he done, and what does he do?
He was big on Vine, very big on Vine. And I don't even know all the things he does, but he's now doing YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. and he works all the time. I mean, he was in college. He finished college. He went to school for film, but at the same time, he was working and doing brand deals. I had no idea. I didn't know anything about this. And then all of a sudden, I realized he's making money. We have to have a conversation about that. I thought it was pocket money, apparently. But yeah, he's good. He's great.
He loves what he does.
Loves it. He's very positive, and I think a very good influence on the people around him. And he has a girlfriend who's amazing and the same, and she goes to USC, and she's on TikTok as well. Yeah, they inspire me every day, and I think a lot
What
of
are their
other people.
YouTube or Instagram things? You know.
Oh no! Well,
TikTok.
it's Cosette.
Cosette.
Uh-huh.
With the C.
Cossette.
Okay.
Cosette.
Okay.
And Gabe, Gabe, Irwin, Erwin.
Okay.
Well, he's on multiple platforms, and I think she is as well. But
Gabe Irwin.
Yeah. They're doing something right now. I'm not really sure what it was. They were on their way somewhere. Yeah. And
they
they
love
travel.
what they do.
They love. And often they have traveled to talk to people about it because their platform is all about positivity. And I think that's something we need, you know? And they're out there spreading it. They don't do anything. They don't drink. They don't smoke. They're just about positivity. And I find that very inspiring and loving. They're loving.
What was I going to ask you? The social media, like going back to like New York. What you've done fashion. You've done you had your own gym. Your women's fitness gym. You had now you do the repatterning.
Yeah, I had fashion. I had stores. I did wholesale. I did the gym. I did athletic. I did everything. I think pretty much everything in the fashion world there was. I used to model. I mean, I started doing all this stuff, and then it sort of transitioned into still working on yourself, but from the inside, which I find a lot more satisfying. And I love travel, so it works really well with what I like to do.
So what would you tell yourself? Because you were talking about Gabe, and he's living his passion, right? He's passionate about what he does. What would you tell to a 20-year-old peer? What kind of advice would you give her?
Oh, at 20, I was fully formed. But I would say, well, I don't know. I think that since 20, I've pretty much done
25, 2025.
2025. I would just say, keep on your journey, because everything you do leads you to the next door, So everything you do, every single thing I've done, even if at the time it didn't seem like it, has led me to this. I mean, I went back to school when I was pregnant with Gabriel for creative writing to get my my master's degree. And because I did that, it allowed me to read about theology and things that I had never read, because when I was an undergraduate, I was, more interested in other things. So yeah, I would tell myself, be patient. And you know what? Be open.
What would you change?
I think I would have stopped being angry a little bit sooner. I would have tried to find a way to diffuse my anger. I was really angry, and that fueled me.
Who are you angry at?
Probably myself, I think, for not believing in myself, for letting other people tell me who I was for a long time. And then once I started to realize who I was, it gave me the power to change the things I didn't like about myself. But I think I stayed too long at the party, if you know what I mean. I think that...
And then the negative mindset.
Yeah.
Angry.
Yeah, I was angry. Really angry. And even when I tell you the story about my dad, I was really angry at him for the longest time. But then he got old and moved in with us, and I had to care for him because I wanted to show my son the example that this is what you do. Gabriel knows everything about me. I've spared him nothing. He knows my history. And he knows that this is what you do, that you give love. Even if you have to teach yourself to do it, it doesn't come naturally. So I would just say, I would wish I had let go of the anger a little bit earlier.
Changed a negative mindset to a positive mindset, right? Through all your trials and tribulations, right?
Yeah, I think I'm quite positive now.
And your son is spreading positivity on the internet.
Everywhere he goes. I mean, I just am so
And in
grateful.
life, yeah.
I never thought I'd be a good mother. I thought I'd be a horrible mother. And my friends agreed. And when I had, they did. They were like, oh my God, you're pregnant? It was like, yes, I'm pregnant. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was like a gift. And I was finally ready at the age of 40 to be a mom. And I feel like because of that, I have a great relationship with Gabe. We're doing a podcast together now about positivity and
Awesome.
social
Love
anxiety.
Love it. What's the name of it going to be?
It's called The Disconnect.
The Disconnect.
Because we're trying to disconnect people from the things that are causing them negative thoughts and
There you
open
go.
them up and introduce them to things that are positive.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
How can people find you?
Well, at the moment they can't because we haven't started it yet. We've just set up. But soon they'll be able to find us on thedisconnect.com.
Okay.
Soon. Speak to Gabriel about that.
Great.
Because he's the editor of the podcast.
Great. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so
Thanks
much
for
for
your
having
time.
me. Thank you,
It
Alberto.
was so nice to meet you.
And you too. I hope I see you in New York.
Yes. Yes. I'll be giving you a call.
Please do. Okay, thanks.
Thanks.